Hey y'all, in today's video, I'm going to be sharing 5 Halloween themed dinners. I had so much fun making these and my kids got a huge kick out of everything, so I hope that you enjoy it. So first up, I made some broccoli and cheese soup. This is one of my favorite recipes. I have made it so many times and my husband and kids are not the biggest broccoli fans, but this is one recipe that they will always eat it in without complaining. So yeah, I start by melting down 4 tablespoons of butter and then I add in a quarter cup of just some plain all-purpose flour. After cooking that down for a few minutes, I add in 2 cups of chicken broth and 2 cups of half and half, which is this whole container. And I'm just going to stir that for a bit to make sure that there's no lumps and just to get everything nice and combined. And then I'm going to cover that and I'm going to let it simmer for about 20 minutes. That will give it plenty of time to bring everything up to temperature and also for it to thicken up a little bit. Then I can go ahead and add in my veggies. I did about 3 large carrots. I just shredded it up with like a cheese grater. And then I did 2 crowns of broccoli that I washed really well. And I just chopped it up into like little bite-sized pieces. I do like to double the amount of broccoli than what the original recipe calls for, because really it just cooks down to nothing, so why not? But I like to add in a little bit of onion powder, and then I'm going to cover it again, and I let mine cook anywhere from like 25 to 30 minutes. Just cook it to your liking. I have to do it like super tender so that my family doesn't complain. But yeah, so now I'm going to season it with just some salt and black pepper. I just recently organized my spice cabinet, and I completely forgot about that pink salt that I bought forever ago, so that was a nice little change. And yeah, here is the key ingredient to this soup: some nutmeg. I just add a quarter of a teaspoon and it makes a world of a difference. I absolutely love the flavor that gives. It works so well. And then I'm going to add in 2 cups of sharp cheddar cheese. You could totally play around with like different types of cheeses in this, but this is our favorite. Now, this last step is optional. I don't ever do this, but I decided to grab some paprika to try and deepen the color of this soup for what I'm going to do next. And I think it did a pretty good job. You can see that color change. But yeah, this soup is absolutely amazing just year round. And if you have a larger family, you'll definitely want to double it. This makes about 5 good servings, I'd say. But now I'm going to pipe some spider webs on top of the soup. So all you need for that is some sour cream and a piping bag. I just added some in, pushed it down, and I'm just going to snip off that end and get to work. To go along with that, I also made like a jack-o'-lantern veggie tray. So I have some baby carrots, some mini cucumbers, some mini sweet peppers, and some celery, as well as this ranch dip that we love. I buy it at Walmart. You'll need 2 small ramekins and just a circle board. How flippin' adorable is that? I absolutely love the combination of like cool and fresh raw veggies to go along with a hot dinner. It just works so well. I also just took some frozen cheesy garlic bread and cooked that up in the oven, threw it on a Halloween tray with like these cheap like rubbery spiders. It's just something that my kids are really into. But I love how everything turned out. This was so easy and realistic, and I would have never thought to put sour cream with broccoli and cheese soup, but it works so well as the garlic bread dipping it in it. So good. Up next, we're going to do some like crazy looking deviled eggs as a side for dinner. So I boiled up 4 eggs and I just let that sit in an ice bath for a few minutes. And then I'm just taking the back of my spoon, as you can see, and I'm just tapping it all around that shell. I don't normally break my eggs like this, but I'm purposely doing that to create like a webbing effect. So you want to make sure that the shell is still intact. So don't hit it too hard. Now I'm going to take some black food coloring and I'm just going to add a few drops to a bowl of water, just some regular cold water, and you're just going to drop your eggs in, make sure that they're fully submerged. Ideally, you would want to let this sit like overnight, but I didn't plan ahead per usual, so these maybe lasted like an hour in the fridge before I got started on them. So That was my bad. I mean, I knew better, but whatever. But here I am cracking them, and these looked nothing like the Pinterest picture that I was going for, but I'm not mad about it. You can still see like a faint, like webbing design. So now on to the yolk. So I'm just taking the back of my fork and getting that broken apart, and I keep my deviled eggs really simple. We're just doing some mayo, mustard, salt, and pepper, and that's literally it. So I'm just going to mix that together until it's nice and smooth. And then you're going to want to grab you some green food coloring, or really any color. This was the Kelly Green in the Wilton. And I just do that with like a toothpick, and it's like a thick paste. And just keep on adding the food coloring until you like it. So I ran out of piping bags, so I use like a Ziploc bag. And I want you to look at what happened. Story of my life. But I just went with the flow, cleaned up my mess, and didn't get angry about it. That's just life. Nothing ever goes as planned, and it's okay. But I still think they turned out pretty darn cute. So after I got those popped in, the last step is to take some of these poppy seeds. I recommend dumping it out in your hand first and just like kind of sprinkling it on each one versus like just taking the whole bottle and shaking it on. But that was it. Like I said, I thought they turned out pretty good. So I let those sit in the fridge, and I got started on some cheeseburgers. So I took like a 2.25 pound pack of 80/20 ground beef, and I just patted it out using a meat press, which makes patting out burgers a breeze. And I'm going to cook these up in my cast iron skillet that I re-seasoned just for this purpose to make sure that nothing would stick. And I am putting those seasoned side down, and I'm using this Mr. Steak like super blend seasoning, which is basically just like salt, pepper, onion, and garlic powder, and I'm sure some other things that I don't know about. But I always like to cook my cheeseburgers in Worcestershire sauce. I absolutely love the flavor that that gives cheeseburgers. And another reason that I love using cast iron for cooking burgers is I love that little bit of crust that it gives it. And I know it could have been better if I waited a little bit longer, but it's okay. I was really happy with how those burgers turn out. So now I am going to carve some creepy little faces into some cheese slices. And the fake cheese with like the plastic wrapper does work best for this. It makes carving a whole lot easier if you use like the real cheese, if you know what I'm saying. So on Pinterest, all I could find was like jack-o'-lantern faces, and I didn't really want to do that, but I came across this girl on TikTok that made some like really cool faces in her cheese slices. So I will definitely link her video in my description box. I want to make sure she gets all the credit. Definitely not my idea. She really inspired me. So I'm going to go ahead and do like a Frankenstein face and then like a scream face. The scream faces definitely were a lot easier than the Frankenstein ones, but even though this does take some patience, it is not hard to do at all. And look at how adorable this turned out. I feel like most people love cheeseburgers. It's like a classic, and this is just such an easy idea. I know if I was a little girl about to go out for trick or treat, if I had this before I went, that is something that I would never forget. I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, of course we have the deviled eggs, and my kids really like these smiley fries that come frozen. Boston doesn't like ketchup with his, but I just put some like ketchup splatter to look like blood. Sorry if that's a little gruesome for some of y'all, but don't think too much into it. It's just all in Halloween fun. But yeah, here is my plate. This was definitely a 10 out of 10. I came across this skull pan at Kroger of all places, and I'm so happy to have it in my collection now because you can do so many different things with it. They do make scarier skeleton ones. I know you can get them on Amazon, and I would like to eventually have it. This is more of like a nicer skeleton face. I guess that's how you'd put it, but I'm going to spray that with some nonstick cooking spray and set that to the side. We're going to be doing some pizza skulls if you haven't realized that yet. So I've got a can of like Pillsbury pizza crust, and I'm just going to get that spread out, and I'm going to like thin it out with my rolling pin the best that I could. I'm going in with my pizza cutter, and I'm just slicing that into 6 strips. And this part was a bit of a pain. I'm not going to lie to you, because you're working with these like thin strips and trying to make it fit into this pan. But again, just you got to have some patience and just get in there the best that you can. And I'm just going to take some simple toppings. I'm doing some mozzarella cheese, a couple tablespoons of pizza sauce, which, by the way, this Chef Boyardee one is our absolute favorite. I don't know if it's like a nostalgia type thing, like from my childhood, but it's the best in my opinion. So I just used some turkey pepperoni and then another layer of cheese. Obviously, you can do whatever pizza toppings you like. We like it really simple. I do like green peppers on mine, but I didn't want to cut one up just for my one, you know? But yeah, so I'm just going to repeat that. Just kind of pinch everything together. Like I said, kind of smush it in there the best that you can. And you're just going to pop that in the oven at 375 degrees for about 18 to 20 minutes. And it's going to look like a hot mess when you pull it out. But don't you worry. Just let it sit there for a couple of minutes so that that cheese can kind of harden up. And then go in with like a rubber spatula and just kind of fold it onto that pizza crust. And it is all going to work out. All is good. As you can see, these popped out of the pan super easily. That first one had me a little worried that they weren't going to turn out that good. But all in all, I think they turned out pretty good. And I am going to cut into one at the end of this clip, so don't you worry, just give me a second. But to go along with that, I picked up one of these Caesar salad kits. I much prefer like the market side brand over the Dole, but it served its purpose. So for that salad, we're going to make some ghost croutons, and I will of course link this cookie cutter that actually came in a set of other Halloween like characters in my description box if you're interested. I did expect these to be like a little bit smaller so that you could do like, you know, several croutons, but it's okay. I'm just taking some regular white bread, and I could get 2 ghost croutons out of 1 piece of bread. So that's what it looks like. You're going to want to create some eyes. So I'm taking a straw and I'm just kind of pushing it down in there and twisting it. I did have to go in with another straw that came off of like a McDonald's juice box to kind of poke the eyes out, or you could do a toothpick. But that was that. I just placed it on a like silicone mat lined baking sheet. I sprayed it with some olive oil spray, and then I'm just going to season these up a little bit with some garlic salt. These are going to bake in the oven at 290 degrees, anywhere from 8 to 10 minutes. So while those were in the oven, I went ahead and got started on some cheese letters. So again, I will be sure to link these in the description box. It came with the whole alphabet. And here I'm using some real cheese because I figured that might work better for this particular purpose. Maybe I'm wrong. These cut really easily, but it was a pain and a half to get these out of the actual cutters themselves. I had to use a toothpick, but I got it done. As you can see, like the edges are super like distressed. But I'm just glad that there is only 4 of us. So otherwise, I would have been standing there all day. It was a pain. I don't know how people do it, but it turned out cute. So here is my plate. I have a side of the pizza sauce to dip it in, and look at how cute. I cannot get over that. Again, not my idea. I will link the original like creator in the description box. But here's the kids' plates. They're not big into salad yet, but I keep on trying. But I did leave like the ghost croutons and like the boo whatever on the side so that they would eat it, since I put so much work into it. And I just gave them some Halloween like Go-Gurts. So as promised, here I am like tearing it in half. How yummy does that look? And I swear that Chef Boyardee sauce is the reason that these were so good. I'm telling you. Next, I am whipping up one of our favorite casseroles. So I start that by melting down 1 tablespoon of butter. And then I'm going to finish off that bottle of olive oil, but you need a tablespoon. Then I'm going to dump in 1 1/4 cup of long grain white rice that I've washed really well. I do that with my fine mesh strainer. I found that's the easiest way for me anyways. And then I'm dumping in 2 1/2 cups of chicken broth that I'm going to season with some onion powder. If you like real onion, you could of course like saute that in with the butter and olive oil. Once that started to boil, I've added in my broccoli. I've washed and cut it, and again I used 2 crowns. I'm going to turn that heat down a little bit, cover it it with a lid, and I'm going to let that cook for 15 minutes. Then I am going to cut the heat off, leave the lid on, don't stir it or anything, and let that sit still for 10 minutes before you go in to fluff it up. Honestly, this right here just by itself would be an amazing side dish to like literally anything. It's really good just like this, but of course we're going to jazz it up. So I'm going to add in about 2 to 2.5 cups of some diced ham. I just used a ham steak. Then I'm going to add in 1 can of cream of chicken soup, a 1/2 cup of sour cream, and then 3/4 of a cup of milk. And I like to use 2% in most recipes. Now I'm going to add in about a cup of shredded cheese. Again, sharp cheddar like usual. And then I'm going to just season this up with some salt and pepper. So I'm just going to get all that mixed together, and it should look something like this. So I'm going to pull out my 9x13 casserole dish, and I'm going to spray it with my vegetable oil spray. And I'm just going to get all of that dumped on in there. Then I'm going to take the back of my spatula and just spread that out into an even layer, the best that you can. And then I'm going to add on that final cup of the shredded cheese and just kind of distribute that all over the place. And I forgot to show it, but you do need to cover it with foil and bake it at 350 for 15 minutes. So these garlic butter Ritz crackers are superior. They're one of our favorite things, and we keep it on hand at all times. I did crush up 1 sleeve in this Ziploc bag. I like to kind of roll over the top so that it will stand up, and I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of melted butter. So be sure to seal that up and just give it a really good shake to get that butter like evenly distributed. Then here is what that casserole looked like after the 15 minutes. I'm just going to pour on that buttery garlic like Ritz topping. And then here's where the Halloween theme comes in. I've got these like oval shaped crackers, and I am just going to insert it in here to make it look like a graveyard. This is going to go back in the oven uncovered for a final 10 minutes just to get everything kind of like nice and toasty and a little golden brown. So here is the finished product. Again, I hope this isn't like disrespectful towards anyone, but you know, like Halloween and tombstones kind of go hand in hand. This is definitely like the lowest effort one, but it's effective and it is super good, y'all. If you have not tried this before, this is one of those dishes too that like the leftovers are actually like just as amazing. This makes so much, so we definitely ate on this for a few days. But yeah, whether you do the oval crackers coming out of the top or not, this is a great recipe to keep on hand just year round. And now we are on to the last dinner idea. So we're doing some barbecue chicken legs. So I have about 6 in this bowl, and I've just drizzled it with some olive oil, and I'm going to season mine with this grind staff all-purpose rub, but you can use whatever your favorite barbecue rub is. So I'm just going to get everything tossed around and nice and coated. So to my Instant Pot, I'm going to add in 1 cup of water, and I'm going to place my trivet in. I'm going to place the chicken legs like meaty side down, and the leg part is just going to like stand up on the sides of the pot. So I'm going to add my lid. Make sure your valve is set to sealing, and for my Instant Pot, I just have to hit the manual button, and I'm going to let that cook for 18 minutes. I'm going to let it naturally release for 5 minutes, and then I will finish it off to let all the pressure release before you open that lid. These are going to be fall off the bone tender, but that just makes it look even more gory, which just fits the theme. At least that's what I'm saying. But now you are going to want to grab your favorite barbecue sauce. Mine is Sweet Baby Ray. Drizzle on as little or as much as you want, and just kind of dab it around with your silicone brush. That's going to go underneath the broiler for about 5 minutes to let everything caramelize and get crispy, and these are super delicious. To go along with it, I got some of this black and white bow tie pasta. I had to order this online. Amazon was sold out, but I ordered it from yummybazaar.com. I think that's how you'd say it. But it came packaged really well, and nothing was broken, so I was happy. And I'm just going to pair it with some of this green pesto, which I've been loving lately. It was self-explanatory, so I didn't show it. But, of course, I boiled up the pasta, and I heated up the sauce, and then I just sprinkled on some freshly grated Parmesan cheese. So, definitely going for those Beetlejuice vibes. And I'm sure someone out there is thinking, who in the world pairs barbecue chicken with pesto pasta? Well, I do, and we really liked it. So to wrap up this video, I'm going to insert this girls' night clip. I just made some chocolate covered pretzels, but a couple of my friends brought over these really cute boards, so I had to show them off. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you all have a happy and safe Halloween.